Welcome to the Union Fitness Podcast. Really the second episode, even though it's not, but it's the second episode with the dynamic duo back in the house tonight. Who is here? Me, Todd, the greatest producer in America, Josh, and
CJ, the backup bass and singer and everything that keeps this group together.
we've been discussing a lot of music today. We're going to have a great guest today, CJ.
Eddie.
No, we're going to have a guest. Eddie, R.I.P. Eddie Van Halen died yesterday, everyone.
Are you watching on the computer?
Am I watching on the computer? No. Oh, it's probably still running. There was some background noise there. Totally my fault. Our guest is going to be Tim Kontos. He's waiting for us right now whenever he's ready. But we want to discuss, and Tim can get in on this conversation. Tim Kontos was going to be our special guest today. I thought he wasn't going to be here till 4:15, but he popped on with us.
Punctual as ever.
So we're going to ask him to discuss a few things before we even get into Tim. Two things we're here to talk about before we start. One, Squattober, and we're going to talk about the good and the bad of it, thoughts. Two, top 15 songs with Eddie Van Halen in them.
Not just Van Halen.
Not Van Halen the band, but with Eddie performing in the song.
I think there's a couple sneakers that
there's one big one, yeah, one big. It really smacks you in the face. So hey, Tim, you out there, man?
Yes, I am. What's up, fella?
Good to have you. We're gonna hold off an introduction because we had this whole plan, and we're gonna introduce you in about 10 minutes. All right. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Squattober. First off, let's do that. We're doing Squattober. I think it's fun. I think it's challenging. I don't think it's for a high-level lifter. I think it's for, people to have fun and do something different. Us, very average humans. Tim, what are your thoughts on Squattober?
I am a bit torn with the recent hire of a certain strength coach.
Ooh, yes.
Which, there's three sides to every story. Their side, your side, and the truth. And so I don't know all the particulars, but I've got a hard time getting behind something like that.
A different view than probably most, because I know a lot of people will think, oh, it's dumb and it's kind of just like this little cultish thing. Meathead. Yeah. For me, I did it once. I was like, yeah, it was a challenge and it was fun, and you don't have to think about your programming, so that's why I'm doing it. But I totally dig your point, and I think. Interestingly enough, this is going to tie into our next point, because song number 7 on here I have a hard time with for ethical reasons. But Tim, are you down, before we really get into this, to discuss Billboard's list of the top 15 songs with Eddie Van Halen in them?
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to have to add to the conversation, but I'll do my best.
I mean, you introduced me to Coal Chamber, so I don't know how Coal Chamber relates to Van Halen, but hey, let's roll with it. So, according to Billboard, number 15, Jamie's Crying, Van Halen, 1978. Good song.
Which is a cover, yeah?
Was that a cover? No. Josh is giving us the official no.
CJ asked me before the show if Jamie's got a gun.
Oh.
Okay.
Aerosmith.
He had them mixed up.
Aerosmith guy.
I told you, I'm not that deep cut. There's so many big ones.
All right, 14. 1978, Van Halen 2, the song Beautiful Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Love that jams. Any thoughts on it there, Tim?
I like it.
I like it.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Feels So Good, 1988. Whoa. Where did that come from?
Hammer, you're doing a thing again.
Is that my computer?
That's Van Halen.
That's not me. We just had some. Wow. I think Josh was searching for it and an advertisement kicked in. All right. Number 12, CJ song, Running with the Devil, 1978, on their first album.
What movie does it open for? Adam Sandler's Little Nicky.
Touche.
That's why it's up there.
Number 11, Spanish Fly / DOA, 1979, on Van Halen 2.
I don't think I've ever heard it. I was born in 91.
I will say it has a big guitar kind of intro thing kind of going on. Good song. Number 10, way too low in the list, Panama, on the 1984 classic album.
Talk about a song that makes you want to drive a convertible in the desert with your friends doing
what?
certain
Let's
off
stop.
the radio
Let's stop
things.
it. All right, number 9. I'm the One. Van Halen, 1978. You don't even know the song, do you?
No.
A sleeper pick there.
But what are the odds that their style of clothing kicks back around?
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Number 8.
Everything goes in circles. Yeah.
I put this one in my top 5. Hot for Teacher off the classic 1984 album.
Curtis's song that he sings to Liz every day. She's a school teacher.
She's a school teacher.
That's
Number
why.
7. Right now on the classic For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Every sports reel in the history of sports should have this song in it. 6, Dance the Night Away. That's a fun song.
Yeah.
Once you want to dance.
Yeah, I want to dance. 5. Oh, this is the song I have a problem with. Beat It by Michael Jackson.
He plays in it.
He plays in it. My point is I have an issue. I won't listen to Michael Jackson or R. Kelly just on
Because of
ethical grounds.
The things they've done.
Yeah.
But it's a good song.
I am not arguing that. And, I've listened to actually a lot of musical podcasts that discuss this. Like, where do you get into these ethics and all that? But whatever. Ain't Talking About Love, number 4 from the original Van Halen album, 1978.
Awesome.
Great song. Unchained from 1981's Fair Warning.
Awesome. Now, I don't know how good these are going to be, like, as far as his technical abilities, but those are good songs.
Yeah. Number 2. This is tough not to have this as number 1. Jump from the album 1984. I think it's number 1, but that's just me.
Well, number 1's got to be because it's legit him ripping faces off.
And number 1 is
Melting down.
Eruption, leading into You Really Got Me on the original Van Halen 1978. And Eruption, Curtis today mentioned in the office that Eruption's not a good song because it's not a song.
It's not a song.
It's not a song. It's an
Solo.
intro, but it's an intro to You Really Got Me, and it's just a jamming intro.
Have you guys seen Van Halen?
I have not.
Okay.
You have? You have not? No. Well, maybe we can see his son one day.
Apparently they toured with Metallica, and I figured you'd be all over it.
I saw Metallica once. I saw him in 96 or 7, 98, sometime around then. Late 90s when they played the Civic Arena.
Did they still have their thrash, or they sell out then?
They were starting to get. That was after the Black Album. The Black Album was when they went official, full Lollapalooza.
Uh-huh.
So let's get to serious talk now. On today's episode, we got good friend, mentor in many ways, guys been a part of my life for 2 decades. Tim Kontos, Associate Athletic Director of all things cool at Virginia Commonwealth University.
Probably the strongest guy on campus.
There's no probably. He's definitely a strong guy.
Hands down, I guess. Right?
You might have a thrower in there, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry we lost you there, Tim.
I hired an assistant who's stronger than me.
Really?
Ooh, bold move.
We got to hear about this guy in a little bit.
If you're the
But-
strongest in the room, you're in the wrong room. So
This is why I'm always in the right room. I don't think I've ever been the strongest in any room. CJ, you're in the wrong room right now.
Well, you never know. Josh
Well,
might sneak some out on us. With that muzzy?
he does have that curly mustache going on right now, so who knows? So, Tim, you want to introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us about yourself.
So, I've been at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, for those not in the know, it'll be 23 years in January. Started off part-time and then moved my way up to a full-time position. And right now I'm over the sports performance department, the sports medicine department. I work directly with baseball and volleyball, and then oversee all the other sports except for men's basketball. That sports performance coach reports directly to the basketball coach.
And I know your new basketball strength coach is an old VCU guy that's come back to Roost, huh?
Henry Roos left for a little while, went away, came back, and he wanted to be closer to home. It was a good place to be here at VCU.
Yeah, honestly, I always thought VCU was a better job than Texas, but that's just my opinion.
Dude, Richmond's pretty nice down there, huh?
Yeah.
We went through...
Is that a question?
Question, comment, all of the above. The hum made it a question. The statement was my tone of voice, I guess.
Listen, I remember driving past Richmond when I was at Carolina and thinking, wow, this place is terrible. on 95, you look at it and you're like, this doesn't look good at all. And I met with Tim, and I was like, this place is awesome. And I actually loved my time in Richmond. I think it's one of the most underrated towns.
Hammer was my first real graduate assistant.
You had one before me.
Yeah.
He said real.
We were just two young pups back in the day. I was 24 and you were 26.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, and basically screwing things up, messing things up, but having fun.
You were.
I was talking about us. That wasn't us. So first off, we have a lot of power to Jim. Tell us about your training. I want to know, I know, but talk to me about what you're doing now, how your training looks.
My own training?
Yeah, for you.
It's sporadic at best. I've run into a string of injuries. I've had about 2.5 years ago, I tore up my pec, and I've had it was related to some cervical spine issues. Basically, all the discs in my neck are either bulging or herniated. And so it caused my pec to shut down. And then when it came back, it ruptured. So I came back from that. And recently I've torn adductor. So prior to all this, I'd been following the 5th set by Swede Burns protocol. And he is a big proponent of not having injuries in his program. If you follow the program, so I got injured.
Well, in fairness, how many surgeries have you had?
8.
I remember fun story here. Not a fun fact at all. Fun story is I got hired at VCU, and then Tim said, by the way, I'm taking this week off because I have to have my pec rebuilt back then. What were you having done?
I think I had hernia repair.
Hernia repair. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think I was like 2 weeks on the job when you had to go get your hernia done.
Still learning names.
Yeah, I'm still doing that. But, I asked that because I know just from watching your training on Instagram, you have a tendency of pushing all gas, no brake into your own training, probably why it does sometimes lead to injuries. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, as a guy that's coached for 23 years, how does that affect your coaching?
Which aspect?
Your not just your injuries, but your training. I mean, you know what it's like to go through a lot of things for your sport.
Yeah, when I got hurt the first time, my first real injury was a shoulder injury. I ended up having 2 shoulder surgeries back to back. And that was one of the reasons why I kind of fell into the groove with baseball and meshed with them pretty well, because similar to Eric Cressy, I became pretty well versed in the shoulder. Now, not nearly as well versed as he is, but I was able to explain things to the guys who were hurt on a much more simplistic level that they can understand of what's happening and what you're going to go through. And since then, I've been able to say that, my curse is a blessing in my coaching, in that I can explain to athletes, this is what it's going to feel like the day after your surgery. It's going to feel absolutely horrible, but you're going to get better. And it's going to be a constant process of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Just know that when you have that one step back, you're going to make 2 steps forward. You just have to take it in stride and keep rolling with it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I don't know how far you want to, delve into this. I know, you had a major medical procedure in your late 30s, and how did that change you as not just a person, but as a lifter, as a coach, as a human?
Yeah, I had 2 heart attacks. You can't outrun genetics. My brother was 37, and he had 2 heart attacks and ended up having to have bypass surgery. I fortunately didn't have to go that route. And if you have a good place to have a heart attack, that's where I had mine. But I had mine at 36, and then, so a little background, my brother had one, then he had one 6 months later, had bypass surgery. I had one at 36, he was 37, and then I immediately had a second heart attack that night because they had put the stent in an inappropriate spot. But so I beat him on both accounts.
Yeah. That's a PR.
Something. I never thought you'd return to the heavy training after that, but I was happy to see that you were able to, not just able to do it, but able to do it healthy. Do you have restrictions from that?
No. So I get annual checkups. Initially, it was every 6 months. Get blood work done periodically every 6 months, and then I would get a stress test every year. Now it's every couple of years, and everything is checked out. I turned to cardiovascular exercise pretty heavily. At the time I had my heart attack, it was or heart attacks. I was lifting 3 days a week, running 3 days a week, semi-competitive with the running, recreationally on the weekends. And a couple people at work had said, you single-handedly started the burger revolution, because if it's gonna happen to anybody and it happened to you, then it's gonna happen to any of us. So now, how did it change me as a person? It's tough to put that into words, because I didn't have like remorse or anything like that. I was just fucking angry, and and I didn't recognize it until basically my family had an intervention with me. It was like, you need to go to therapy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as one who's never gone through any of that, I can't imagine, what emotions you have. You could be angry, you could be sad, you could be, thankful that you're still here. You can, learn that life is short, because, it's funny, the little things as we age, and I don't know if you get this, CJ's not there yet, that I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm getting old now. For instance, when I pick up something to read it, and I'm like, oh, I might need, glasses, yeah. Maybe the eye doctor wasn't full of crap when he said, you're going to need readers soon. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to die one day. This is terrible.
That is like A to B, yeah.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
Well, it's not a heart attack, but still, like, you pick something up and you're like, oh, this means that one day I won't be here. Huh, now I have to contemplate life. And I know, like I said, I remember when I got the call about you, because, I called you in the hospital those couple of days, and, just told you jokes, because you said I'm not allowed to laugh very hard, I'm allowed to jump, and I tried to make a joke every day, and because I have no sense of humor, none of them hit. And I didn't make you laugh. So let me get into your job now. So you're the associate AD, you were the strength coach. What was kind of the path to where you got to, and I talk to young strength coaches all the time, and they struggle with this because they're traveling all the time. They have no lives. They're not making any money. What recommendations do you have? What was your path, and what do you recommend for that younger coach out there?
So now, which way do you want the recommendations to go? To have a life or to have a job?
Well, don't say, don't do it. Don't do it.
So as far as trying to pursue elevating yourself in the athletic department, is trying to get yourself on as many committees as possible. And I can't remember who it was that said it at one of our conferences. They were like, make yourself indispensable, that if whatever your main sport that you're working with no longer wants to work with you, that they still have to keep you around, because it's going to cost too much for them to bring somebody else and train them to do your job, which is basically 5 people's jobs. But so slowly but surely, I think the first committee I was on was our nutritional performance team, where we devised policies and procedures in regard to eating disorders, body weight, body composition, and that was where we deemed that it's medical information. We took it out of the hands of coaches so that they couldn't use it against them. The athletes using the information against the coaches. And then was on a couple other committees, and then I asked for promotion to associate athletic director, and I basically had to plead my case that they had certain requirements so I'm one of the few strength coaches out there that doesn't have a master's degree, but I've got 20 years of experience in the field, and most people will say that amounts to something. So that was one of the things that I, kind of had to say, hey, I think I'm suitable for this role. And so I was elevated there, and then took on more and more responsibility as things went along. And as we went, the administration was understanding enough to say, okay, you have this additional responsibility. We don't want you working with as many teams, and we're going to be able to bring you in additional help, whether it's in the form of graduate assistants or bringing a graduate assistant onto a full-time position. So yeah. Just trying to do as much as you can. And you hear it all the time that strength coaches are like, I don't have time. Well, you probably do. How much time do you spend on Facebook? Well, not Facebook anymore, but Instagram, or how much time do you spend on TikTok? You cut that out of your life, and you're going to create a whole lot more work for yourself.
Have you spent any time in your life on TikTok?
I have.
You're on TikTok?
Yeah.
Do you have any talks?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. I just made it up.
Is that like a post? I thought that was a real thing. I feel like. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to sound hip.
So Are you on TikTok just to so you can talk to your kids on there?
Just perusing. No, it's during quarantine. Like when we got shut down, it was pure entertainment every night.
Josh is showing us TikTok right now. It looks like Twitter to me.
Have you really not been on it?
Never.
Oh my God.
I've seen it, but I've never been on the site.
All I know is whenever I search for something on Instagram now, the only thing that comes up is girls dancing.
Yeah.
And I've learned that has come from TikTok. But right now I'm watching random people dance because Josh has pulled this up. And let me tell you something. If you don't get on TikTok, don't start. It's please don't. This is not good. No, oh man, it's pretty bad. So you're from Richmond. We talked about this. Richmond, cool town. And I have to touch on this now that me and D. Randall Bly are good friends and we share each other's cell numbers. Who is D. Randall Bly?
You may ask.
Is he truly a VCU alum, and do you know him personally?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Lead singer of Lamb of God.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. Do I know him? No, I don't. You have to call me. But you one up, so. And whether he was an alumni of VCU, I don't know. That's the first part of that.
I'm pretty sure he was an alum. I know he went there, and I think the two brothers, the one they booted out of the band, also actually went to VCU, and that is always why I am so proud of my time at VCU.
They booted one of their brothers out of the band.
The drummer.
All three were brothers.
Chris Adler. No, the guitarist and the Josh is now searching famous VCU alum, which is hilarious because I don't think Lamb of God. Oh, Chris Adler is an alum of VCU. But his brother is a guitarist, and they booted the drummer out of the band.
Mm-hmm. He almost got your beard. Tim's beard.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I don't have that beard anymore.
No.
I don't know what you're referring to.
The hair's coming back though.
The hair's coming back. I have another 18 months, and then we're gonna donate it. And I know that I tried the beard thing, but you saw it last year. My beard, even when I would get it treated, it doesn't do that pretty thing that yours does.
Treated. How do you treat it?
I don't know. I went to this lady and she combed
Egyptian
it.
oils.
And she did things to it. And I never got that look that you did. What is the secret to the beard?
It is pretty flawless there. For those of you who can't see.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. What we missed it. What was your secret to the beard?
Being Greek.
That makes sense. Zeus.
Which actually, I had another line here, but I had to tell the story. I'll never forget. It was like my last week at VCU, and I said to Tim, Tim, my favorite sub shop, which is gone now because they tore it down. We're gonna go there, and it's this Greek dude, and he's real Greek. And I went in there. I said I'm gonna get gyro, and Tim, his family's from Greece, and he would always get mad and say it's gyro, and I'd say gyro. I'm a dude from Pittsburgh. What do I know? And we go there.
French fries on top of it.
Yeah, get French fries on the gyro. Heck yeah. And so I said, I have a gyro. And the Greek guy in his accent said, hey, my friend, yes. Sorry, I only have one accent.
That was like Apu from The Simpsons.
I have one accent. I only have one. And no matter what, could be an Italian guy, it doesn't matter. And Tim walks in, and he's like, can I get a gyro? And the guy looks at him and goes, what? He goes, a gyro. And the guy goes, gyro?
Oh.
And the Greek guy has spoken, Tim. Zeus has come down from the mount and told you the correct word is gyro.
By the way, CJ, my father's name is Hermes, so that's how.
That's pretty dope.
Yes.
That's a good name.
Yes, which ironically, can you tell the listeners what do all your family do for a living? Because we already talked about your health, and your health issues.
My father is a cardiologist. He's now retired. My oldest brother is a cardiologist. My middle brother is a cardiologist, and my mother's a nurse. So dinner conversations around the table when I was 12, fascinating.
And Tim's going bench press. You guys, anyone here bench?
Is bench good for your heart?
Yeah. Is this good for my pecs?
Yeah.
So Tim, I wanted to tell this story to everyone too. So me and you, a few years back, we were at the CSCCA conference, and we were just looking for a row machine. Do you remember this story?
I think so.
And we're walking around, and we found a company, Rogers. They make row machines whatever. And me and Tim go over, and we slap a couple plates on the low row, and we start cranking out reps. And this gentleman walks over to us, and I want Tim to take over the story because, hold on, gentlemen, you're doing it all wrong. Tim, could you tell us what went on from there?
My best recollection is, I mean, it's probably the exact same thing, but it was of the bench press machine where
we moved to the bench afterwards. Yes.
After that, but basically you sit down and he's like, pile on the weight, and you work up to a 1 rep max on the bench press, and he's like, okay, now do 5 more. It's like it moved at like 0.1 meters per second, and
he's shortening the range of motion.
Yeah. And he's like, do 5 more. Like, what? And then he's like, you can't get up until you do 5 more. So somehow, we cheated out, whatever. And then he drops off the weight and he's like, now do 10 more. It's like,
and that was, what's the name? The old strength coach from Michigan, the big hit guy.
Yeah. That was my experience of it. I had remembered years prior talking to one of the strength coaches at ODU, and he was like, yeah, I did hit for a while, like talking about doing it with his athletes. And I was like, yeah, how'd you like it? And he was like, took 10 years off my life.
I remember Cam Davidson once said, he texted me, he said, I hear you're doing a small off squat cycle. And I said, yeah, I'm doing a small off squat cycle. And he said, prepare for your squat to go up and the rest of your life to go to hell. And I was like, what a great statement. Because when you do anything, and we talked about, squat-tober, small off, whatever, any of these high volume daily squat cycle stuff, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Like, it is a stressor. And I think it's something as a strength coach you have to consider. Strength coaches often think they're really smart. And, they say, I'm going to control the stressors. And I've said this for years. If you have your baseball team for 6 hours a week, that gives them 162 hours a week to drink their faces off, not sleep, not eat properly. And so, your job is to educate them more so than even train them in many cases, because it doesn't matter how smart you are with your training, how hard, how not hard, how, I hate when people say, minimal dosage or whatever. Yeah,
maximal.
like we don't know what that is. So what's your take on that? How do you educate those baseball guys who, let's be honest here, they're baseball guys. They're kind of meatheads. They like to party. They like to not sleep. And, how do you educate them? How do you work with them? How do you explain to them what they need to know?
80% rule. If you can follow the rules 80% of the time, you're going to be headed in the right direction. And it's all about appropriate timing of it. And, explain to them, hey, you just came off a hard training cycle. And now is not the time to wage war on your bodies. You're trying to let it heal. So everything in moderation, which to some it makes a difference and some not so much, but just constant reminders, constant communication about that stuff. Like at the end of every single lift, especially this week, we started into fall ball. So their workload on the field has jumped considerably. And we had an issue where we had an outbreak of COVID on the baseball team. So they were shut down for a couple of weeks. They came back, trained for a couple of weeks. And now they're on the field. It's just a lot pretty quick ramp up in their activity level that they need to hydrate. They need to concentrate on hydration and nutrition every single day. And that's, it's, you think that everybody does that, but they don't. And it's little talks along the way in between sets. What'd you eat today? What'd you have for breakfast? You weighed in 5 pounds lighter than you did 2 weeks ago. What's going on?
It's funny. We had Adam Fight speak to our staff over quarantine. We did a few different staff talks, and he talked about something which kind of blew my mind. He said, when you get hired for a job, he said, Hammer, you've been hired for quite a few jobs in your life. How's that work? Do you sit down with HR and they explain your entire job to you? And I was like, honestly, no one's ever explained my entire job to me. I mean, they hand you a job description, which you barely read. No one cares. Like, when I hired CJ, I'm like, you know what to do. Go do it. And he said, actually, the better way to do it is what you just said, kind of slow cook the employee, slow cook the athlete. You could give them an hour-long presentation day one on recovery, but I think the beauty in what you just said is that slow cooking them. Just every day giving them one nugget of information, because if you dump it all to them, it's going to, it's gone. Mm-hmm. But if you just continue that, educate every day, give them one piece of information. Do you have any systems on that, or is that just kind of by feel, or what?
A lot of it's by feel. I think probably the best example of that is we probably 7 years ago, we started getting typically summertime collegiate baseball players go play summer ball. 6 years ago, we started getting guys sticking around for lifting and playing in the summer league here in Richmond. And I would have them fill out my what's the nutrition app that everybody uses?
MyFitnessPal.
Yes. Okay. Then take a screenshot of the macros at the end of the day and send it to me. And if there was something that wasn't in the red, they needed to bump it up, meaning if they weren't over. And so what that did was start conversations the next day with not just with me and the players, but between the players. Dude, I keep falling behind on my protein. The other player's like, oh, man, I'm way over. He's like, how are you doing it? And so they troubleshoot it together, and it gets those conversations going. And it's a little bit different of a structure. In summertime, it's a little looser, more casual of an environment. We run a pretty tight ship during the school year. I mean, NCAA regulations, we got to get the guys in and out in an hour. But so having those small conversations along the way.
So with that, I mean, how much tracking do you guys do with other stuff? Do you look at sleep tracking at all, or do you look at? I wear a Polar watch. Why? Because Polar gave it to me for free, and the sleep tracking I think is interesting personally, and also this is what I've done for a living. But have you thought about doing any of that? I know heart rate variability was the thing 8 years ago, and that kind of isn't.
It all gets it's one of those things that how much control can we have? And we can look into those things, but I'm also one of those people that's going to realize I'm a realist in that some people say I put up roadblocks, but I'm going to look at something like that and be like, we're going to run into troubles with accountability with them, keeping track of the numbers. And it's you're not always going to get the best results with it because of that. And so is it worth it? The energy return for the energy expenditure? Probably not.
Yeah.
Cost expenditure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I kind of felt. And I get nervous. And I don't know about you. I just get nervous with the amount of information the athlete has, because when HRV was the thing, my biggest concern is if a kid gets used to, they get on their Atheltic every day and they check, and HRV is a red light today, green light, yellow light. And we're basing their training on that. What happens when that kid gets information on championship day? You have your starting pitcher. This is NCAA tournament time. You guys are a pretty good team. You're expected to win a couple games. And he gets a red light on the game he's supposed to start and pitch 7 innings. Now you have mentally screwed up that kid. So that's my big concern with that data, is that some days you're going to be a red light and you have to perform. And, when people start to look at that sympathetic to parasympathetic, and I've always said this, if I need someone to survive a squat set, I can bring a baseball bat and start swinging it at them, and they're going to poop their pants a little bit. And it's going to wake them up, and take some caffeine or do what they have to do to get it. Now, for the long haul, is that the healthiest thing to do? No. But we're talking about winning a game. And I think at times people get confused between health and performance. And I'm not saying health doesn't matter, because obviously we care about the kids we're training. But, our end game is performance. And if a kid, if I say, hey, I'm going to hype you up for this game, and you're probably going to be sick tomorrow and you're going to be beat down tomorrow, they're probably going to take that deal. Most kids I've worked with, at least.
Yeah, we've run into some issues where we do. The teams I work with don't use it, but where a couple of our sports performance coaches, we utilize Polar monitoring, and it tells you their top velocities, how many miles they've run, all that, tracks all the information. But in conjunction with that, they do just an objective questionnaire or subjective questionnaire. How are you feeling? Are you sore? Rate your muscle soreness, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that they found was that the athletes were perseverating on the information, and it started multiple, just over concentration amongst the athletes, talking about how sore they were, how beat down they were. And the coaches were like, I don't know if this is the best thing for our kids. And they ended up tossing it out.
And I think that's where the art has to meet the science. And I think
Right.
that's experienced coaches will get that. I see so many young coaches, and even with young lifters, we have a ton of young lifters here where they come in and they want to throw the kitchen sink at it. Mm-hmm. And to me, again, we're not slow cooking then. Fix one issue. One of my favorite sayings is forget perfection and work on improvement. Mm-hmm. Because no one's perfect. You look at your squat and you're like, oh, I need to improve upon this. You've been how many? I remember something you said that I always loved was you said in college, you lived with a bunch of bodybuilders, and you were the guy that never skipped leg day. Everyone else never skipped bench day, but Tim's like, man, I can't wait squat day. I'm like, who in college likes squat day? But you were that guy. But for the thousands of reps you've done, it's still not perfect.
No,
probably a heck of a lot better than it was. But it still needs work. And I think too often everyone's looking for this perfection. I think many times you get that paralysis by analysis because you're looking for perfection. There's no perfection, man. Let's just improve every single time.
Yeah, and in that scenario that I was discussing with the coaches, I think that's where the education comes into it. You know, there's a difference between being injured and being sore, and also you can perform when you're sore. And what exactly that means, what you have to look out for, where the difference lies, and where the cutoff point should be. And what is that doing to your mentality if you go into a workout? Like, you know, when our athletes started back training after we had outbreak and everybody's wearing masks, they were just struggling. You know, the masks are going in and out. They're like just pouring sweat and they're bitching up a storm about it. I said, you know, the one thing that doesn't make it better, talking about it. And that's, you know, the more you talk about something, the worse it's going to get in your own head. So cut it out.
It's funny. We have a full mask policy when we're training in here. Everyone has to have their mask on, and you know, it's 95%. I mean, you know, people are pretty good about it. Each once in a while, we have someone give a little, you know, flack about it. And I've also said if you go outside, which we allow outdoor space, you can take your mask off or lower your mask as long as we're in the outdoors. But you know, I've noticed that there have been squats where I go to get my air and I end up eating my mask. It is frustrating, but man, like you said, like I could sit there and whine about it all day, but just toughen up, man. Come on.
If that's the worst thing you have to worry about, I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that goes to the point that you just made is, you know, don't major in the minor. Don't worry about the little things in the world. So, big piece of advice for, you know, you gave us for our young trainers, our young coaches, those people looking at the athletes. You know, what are the big pieces of advice you got? What, you know, big top couple things like this is what I see they need to do and they're failing.
Sleep is underrated, just across the board, and that's something that I'm in my late 40s fighting to correct, and it's like it's brutal, man. And you know, it's I do notice that when I get the appropriate amount of sleep for prolonged periods of time, everything is exponentially better. It's like you forget steroids, just sleep more.
I like that.
It's like natural steroids.
For the what the young guys in the room don't know, they're in their 30s still, Tim, is
29.
I get up twice a night to pee. Because that's what happens in your 40s, right?
Yeah.
Like you just have to pee at midnight. What's that?
Because we drink a lot more water.
It doesn't matter. I could go to bed dehydrated. I got to wake up at midnight and pee. And something the young guys don't appreciate is that is a huge problem because you lose sleep. You can't get back into bed, and then you're awake. And then next thing you know, you're staring at dancing people on TikTok. And never been on TikTok.
You're staring at them at 2 a.m. It's probably not a great idea, huh?
Listen, what happens is the reason I found out about this is I like to watch mountain bikers on Instagram because there's some really cool mountain bike videos on there. And the two things that come up is these random people doing this dumb dancing. It looks like kind of an Irish dance is a new thing. And mountain bikers. That's all I have on my when I go to search things. So TikTok's taking over. So sleep is the new steroid.
That and protein.
Eat your protein.
Yeah, eat your protein. That's across the board. Almost anytime, you know, so the story I was telling before about the MyFitnessPal, that was prior to us having a full-time nutritionist, and now we have one. But across the board, like anytime I've ever dealt with an athlete and looked at their nutrition or talked with our nutritionist about athletes' nutrition, they're lacking in protein. They just can't seem to get enough in, and it's not fun to eat protein. Nobody wants to eat protein.
I love eating burgers and steak.
Well,
what if someone chooses not to eat meat by choice?
I mean, protein's protein at the end of the day if you get incomplete, yeah? Huh?
Don't look at me. Look at the guy we're talking to.
Tim?
You need more leucine.
See, leucine. Cody's big on leucine.
Yeah, well, I'm not arguing. I just think it's hard. It's difficult to be a vegetarian and get enough protein. So are you a Stan Efferding guy then when it comes to that?
Listening to him talk about it has really, this is continuing education. I don't know if you can read that.
A little higher.
Hold up a little higher. Oh, there it is.
And weight loss considering for athletes.
It said it actually what it said is Charles Jasper's weak.
My broccoli is taking all my squats down.
So so back to Stan.
And then I have a CPAP, and so listening to him talk about it, and then going in and talking to my doctor who's regulating my CPAP, and he's like, look, this will help you with concentration. And you think about it, when you lose train of thought, when you're tired, it'll help you with your athletic endeavors when you've trained the best, when you're fresh. It'll help you recover when you're the least sore, when you're sleeping the most. You know, he was like, it'll help this, it'll help this, it'll help this. And he's, just this mellow dude. And he's like, it helps everything. And I was like, he's fucking right.
I feel like this is going down some Joe Rogan CBD talk directions
I
here.
think CPAP and CBD are quite different, eh?
Everything under the sun to help with my sleep, because I've historically been a very poor sleeper. So, but no, I'm not going to go down that road.
Good answer. One, because I can't stand Joe Rogan, as we all know.
You keep bringing his name up, just like the masks.
Why can't you stand Joe Rogan?
I just think he's a pompous
person,
human.
I mean, he built his empire on being that, I guess, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I just don't like him as a human.
But he's never met him.
Yeah.
I like Eddie Van Halen.
R.I.P.
I like D. Randall Bly too. Well, Tim, thank you. Listen again.
Wait, hold on, one more.
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry. Well, he hasn't had any questions today, and I thought he was asleep over there.
Being Hammer's co-host is probably the hardest thing because he won't stop.
I feel so bad for you.
I have ideas. They run through my mind. He just keeps rolling. I can't say it because it's past the point.
You could use a notepad.
Notepads are the devil. Here is my question to you. So 23 years at one place in college strength and conditioning is actually unheard of. I mean, I'm sure if you look at the list, you might be one of the OG dudes to stay at one spot. Who's been at a place longer than 23 years? But that's not my question.
That was my question.
I just think it's very cool. It's a tasty tidbit. So you got there at 26, and you've been there for 23 years. How have your goals of career changed, or your training philosophy, like with your athletes, like both of those changed through those years?
Training philosophy has been pretty consistent. My thought is that if you get the kids stronger, a lot of other things will take care of themselves. And there's, some things will ebb and flow, whether it's corrective exercises and FMS and things like that have kind of come in and out of the checkpoint. And the people I work with heavily influence the things that I do, doing a little bit more with philosophy-based training because of the people that I work with. Chris Powell and Mike McCautry, they're doing a lot with it, with our kids with that. And I like the direction it's heading. So training philosophy has been pretty consistent. As far as work goals, that's in so many ways has been consistent as well. It's just make each day the best one possible. And I said it on another podcast where it was, too many people want to come in and they want to get to the next level. They want to get to the next level, and you're not in the moment, number one, and that's one thing. But you can't get to the next level if you're not doing the best you can do when you're here. And there was often times where it was just administration right now at VCU is just awesome. In the last 7 years, I don't think I've ever been told no. I've been told it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's unheard of. When we go to strength and conditioning conferences, they're so upset with their administration. They don't empower us, et cetera, et cetera. And I did have that. It was really tough, but it was like, okay, I'm just going to do what I can right now. And it was interesting. Somebody had said, what's the best advice you've ever been given? I was like, well, it was actually the worst advice ever given to me, but I was able to turn it into a positive where an individual that Todd worked with had told me, he said, what you need to do is make your primary sports your your number one responsibility, and then everybody else, make them a card sport, meaning you have 15 weeks worth of workouts written out and you give it to that kid when they come in and you're just there monitoring the room. And I was like, okay, this guy's been doing this for a while. He had a couple more years on me. And I was like, that sounds like a great idea. and I was robbing the kids, and it was terrible. And so then I did everything I could to not be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I heard, and Hammer could tell me from personal experiences, like, you know, they're doing 2 board presses, but it sounds like somebody's knocking on the door every time they do board presses. It's like, okay, we're going to touch and we're going to pause. And if it makes a sound, it doesn't count. So doing everything I could, the opposite end of the direction. But the point the real point I'm getting at is making that day the best one possible. And then at the end of the day, you do an honest evaluation. Did I do a good enough job? And if not, why not? Probably because I didn't get enough sleep.
Always come back to sleep. I think you beautiful point there was servicing the student.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's a tennis player, a basketball player, a football player. You know, when the student comes to you, and it's interesting, since moving to the private side here, like it's no different. You know, we want to give people an awesome experience when they come in. So say their name when they show up. Do the little things. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't matter who they are, what sport they play. They're coming in for you to give them an awesome experience. And if you don't do that, you failed that person.
Yeah, exactly.
That was awesome. Was that a 2-part question? Is there a second part to that?
I think I jammed it all together.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
First question wasn't a question. Statement.
Yeah, the hardest part with working with CJ, just so you know, since he's talked trash on me, I'm going to now talk trash on him.
Bring it.
Is I have to say, did you check your email today? And he'll say, I checked it 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I emailed you yesterday about something. Yeah, I'll check it tomorrow.
2 days.
That's one. And number 2 is that we have multiple not locations, but areas and different keys. And all full-time people get a key to everything. And then for the part-time people, there's a keychain at the front desk for everything. And they have to go out and kind of just check it out. You know, they're the part-time people, and I don't want to have 8,000 keys out there. Every day, CJ comes in and he has to go over to the performance lab, and he takes the keys from the front desk. I said, "Didn't I give you a key, Charles?" And he goes, "Yep," and he just walks by me. I'm like, the problem is they're always getting lost, and I know he's never lost them.
Not once have I lost them.
My question here, Tim, is would you kill him or just punch him?
Did he do a good job?
Unfortunately, yes.
And do what he does.
Whenever it comes up, I always say strengths and weaknesses, guys. We all have strengths and weaknesses.
There are some methods to
the
my
dude
madness.
can coach, so let him have the keys.
He owns his weaknesses.
I like that one. We're going to get shirts with that. Earn your weaknesses.
Earn your weakness.
Well, Tim, you got anything else for us while we got you here?
Fun tidbits.
It's an honor to have been part of this. Good to see both of your faces.
It was awesome seeing you. You didn't get to see our man Josh with his curly mustache. He's hiding back there producing things and doing things that he does. But no, seriously, it was awesome to have. Tim was one of my early mentors in the profession. I basically came straight from Buddy Morris, so I didn't know anything because Buddy was speaking so far above my head that I was just trying to keep up. And I got to Tim, was like, wow, I really know nothing. And so without him, I wouldn't be the coach I am today and the seat I'm at today. So thank you for that, Tim.
Well, and thank you, because it's come full circle, because you're a person that I can call up and rely on and be able to get honest feedback from and look for a different perspective. So I certainly appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks again for coming on. Hopefully everyone listening enjoyed the episode, really quad episode 2, because we ignore when the other hosts are on.
Cool.
Episode 2 of the Union Fitness Podcast.
With the OGs.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks,
Peace.
big dog.